Hi, I'm Ringie with Prairie Quilt, and I have an affinity towards curves. Anything that has a curve I like much more than just straight rigid lines. This 7 Ringie Dingies is the perfect quilt to do curves with. And it's very, very simple. The reason I'm making this video today is because so many people do not believe how simple it is, so I'm going to demonstrate it to you. I like to use 2 different tools at this, and one of them is the Prairie Pointer because you can iron on it, it's metal, and then the other one is this, and this is the 18-degree ruler. So the first thing we're going to do is cut the wedge out. Here is a template of the wedge that you will find in the pattern 7 Ringie Dingies. You can use a template, but to me it's much easier if I use the ruler, and it's also faster. So the first thing we're going to do is to get our first 18-degree cut, and then we'll get rid of that. Then just turn the ruler back and forth until you have all your wedges cut out. Okay. Then again, lining it up. I use this little tape. It's called glow line tape. This is how it comes, so that I can easily see where I have my line that I want to cut out. Okay, what we're going to do is take our wedge and fold it in half lengthwise. I like to shorten my stitch to 2.0. And we're just going to sew this with that short little stitch with a 1/4 inch seam. And then do the same on the other end. On this, the Prairie Pointer, it is metal, and what you want to do is take this seam, open it up, and just push that little item down right there. You do not need to cut that. And you want to put this as level as you can so that both ends are reaching just about the same, and the center is right there. Then you'll iron there. Do the very same thing on this side. Again, laying it down, flattening it out. When you put this in here, it makes it a little bit easier to flatten this out too. Just finger pressing it first. And then I'm looking at both these sides to make sure that it's nice and even, and that the seam is in the center. Okay. Now I want you to take your pointer finger, put it there, and turn that inside out. Do it on both ends. Pointer finger on the inside, and flip that out. We'll take this again. And I like to pull that out after I've started, so I have a nice crisp point. Same thing on this one. Remember to line up with that seam again. Of course, you're going to start your fabric before, but I also like to use steam on this too. Okay, now what we're ready to do is to put our Ringie Dingies on. So they give you in the pattern a ring foundation template. So I've made that with just a piece of muslin right here. I'm going to take this and I'm going to lay it along with another little wedge, Dresden plate. And what we want to do is to lay our seam right there. So, not our seam, but our raw edge. So I've got the right side facing up on this very first one. Just going to center it right there. The little points go to the front. And if you want to do this and pin it, that might be a good idea, just so that you can kind of get used to it in the very beginning. Now, I like to do a back stitch on this. And I want to make sure that those end together the very same place. So I'm going to just adjust this just a tiny bit. We'll just press this open. Just like that. Get the next one ready by putting this one on the line. And then setting the next one down, putting it on the line, and then just sewing again. That's how easy it is. I have a completed ring right here. I'm going to put this on a pillow. And what I'd like to do on this is have a little bit of it hanging off of the pillow, like that. So I will just applique this on. You can either applique it with a blanket stitch, or on my quilt that I have behind me, I used a monofilament thread and used a tiny little zigzag around here. You'll find a lot more tips and tricks in the pattern, 7 Ringy Dingies. I hope you enjoyed this video.